Hello, happy holidays, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the 10 Days of Tiny Disc. It is December 26th, the day after Christmas, if you celebrate. And today, we're going to be talking about the games or the things that happened this year that maybe were not so stellar. And today's award is called the Why Can't You Just Be Good? I'm Robert. I'm joined here by Jack and Colin. And let's get into our nominees, shall we?
You want to talk about what the spirit of this award actually is? Because it's kind of a confusing name.
Yeah, fair enough. So basically, what we've nominated here is 4 games and 1 system where they had a lot of promise. They had a lot of, we have all these ads and it's going to be so good, get excited, get hype. And then it was released and everyone was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, it's bad. So this is like the worst end product, basically, right? Like,
yeah.
What were people looking forward to? And then it came out, we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
so,
cue the sad trombones, cue the awkward record scratches, the crickets, all that good stuff.
Exactly. And this is a podcast for you to listen to while you're returning all the gifts that you don't want and while you're getting gift cards to get the things you do want, right? That's kind of what I did on the day after Christmas.
Not that you'd tell your friends that, right? Because they're gifts, you use them all the time.
Oh, your friends are a gift alone to your heart. So.
But hopefully they didn't get you anything that we put on this list. Let's just say that.
I always had I was so shitty. Like, I always had like a top 10, or not top 10 necessarily, but I always had a list of games that I wanted to have by Christmas. And then I would wait till Christmas, and whatever wasn't on that list, fucking day after Christmas, that's what I'm going out and buying.
Yeah, I pretty much did the same thing, so I feel you.
Yeah.
It's kind of a gamer thing, isn't it? But
yeah, so
let's get into our nominees for the Why Can't You Just Be Good award. We have Mass Effect Andromeda, Lawbreakers.
Why can't you just be good? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Lawbreakers.
Why can't you just be good?
Call of Duty World War II.
Why can't you just be good?
Xbox One X.
Why can't you just be good?
And Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Why can't you just be good? These all suck so bad. These are the worst parts of 2017
in so many different ways. But let's start talking about them one by one. Explain why we nominated them for this prestigious, honorable award that will forever go down on their resumes. So let's kick things off with Mass Effect Andromeda. Wow. I think of the three of us, I was the one most excited about this. I might be the closest to being a Mass Effect Andromeda apologist, maybe. That would be the right word.
Close. Not there, but close.
The closest one to it. Yeah.
On your tombstone, it's going to say, "Here lies Robert Benito. He apologized about Mass Effect."
Yeah, he
almost apologized.
He's actually apologizing for being an apologist.
Yeah, I know, that's true. That's the worst. He's like, "I'm so sorry. I have to apologize."
I'm sorry I'm defending this, but no. So Mass Effect Andromeda, look, everyone loved the trilogy. Love it or hate it. It made an impact on the gaming industry. It was the first big, space opera that was completely unique and special to the massive, to its own universe. It wasn't based on Star Trek, wasn't based on Star Wars, and it delivered so much with a great story and a great universe with a lot of lore. And everyone was like, man, when's Mass Effect 4 coming out? When's a brand new Mass Effect happening? Because it's going to be so great. And then cue the facial animations of Andromeda.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my least favorite game in the series.
I have to award and applaud, I should say, Mass Effect Andromeda, because it led to so much great video content on all the bugs, all of the terrible animations.
So many good memes.
So many memes coming out. We've shared them throughout the months, right? Just here's a new one, here's a new one. And the goof on this game has definitely had legs much longer. They went, I think especially telling of the failure of this game was they went months after it came out, they were starting to give away copies of the game with graphics cards. And usually they'll do that with a brand new game when the graphics card first comes out, but it's very rare that they'll give you a game that's 3 months old, right? Here, just take this code, please. We have too many of them. We have a whole warehouse full of digital codes. Take this.
And to
I was just going to say, when I really knew shit hit the fan was when I saw those pictures going around of those boxes upon boxes upon boxes of Xbox One and PS4 copies showing up in Goodwills.
Oh, shit.
And to make matters worse, too, it wasn't just facial animations were real wonky, right? It's apparently some story threads were just kind of dropped, or just, it didn't tell a fully complete story, which is kind of unfortunate because that's kind of what Mass Effect is known for, right? Aside from building this great universe, it's there's going to be something for you at the end. There's going to be a great story to tell for the most part.
Based on what you played, could you tell if there were any like kind of like uncharted corners of the Andromeda galaxy where they're like, oh, this is clearly where a sequel is going to be, or were they planning on this being a trilogy, or what do you know about that?
I could not tell you, because what they did with Andromeda is they went the Dragon Age Inquisition route, where they're like, yeah, we're going to try and tell a concise story, but we're going to throw in like 80 hours of side questing bullshit. So just enjoy that for a while before you get to the end.
So from what I understand with the facial animations, the reason why it went so wrong was because, well, let's face it, like if they were going to manually animate every single line of dialogue, right, it would have taken another year or two to finish this game. And so they came up with like these algorithms and this program that would automatically, right, animate the face according to what the sound was doing, like the vocals, recorded were doing. And the failure of that system, kind of cutting corners, I guess you could say, to make this game happen in the time frame that it did, is what led to like all these hilarious, stupid videos we're watching now. So
deadpan faces everywhere.
That's kind of, it's an unfortunate development, because I think that if someone could nail like, hey, now just facial animation is just automatic now, I think that would have been like pretty significant for the industry. But this if anything, Mass Effect Andromeda is a reason to argue that no, we need to have people do this, because only people know when something looks weird.
Right. I think the biggest thing for me is there's not really an excuse for this in a post LA Noire world and a post Uncharted world, and I mean even Horizon came out before this, right?
Like a month before.
Yeah, but still, like even after all those games, like they should know what works and what doesn't for facial animation.
Hell, in a post Mass Effect 3 world, they should know, right? But here we are. Our next nominee on the list, Lawbreakers. Guys, do you remember, I'm mainly talking to Jack and Colin here, but do you remember when I used to have a Lawbreakers hat?
No.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, I had a Lawbreakers hat, and I don't wear it anymore because that game ain't great. I mean, okay, it's all right? I mean, it's an all right shooter, but it promised so much without teaching you anything, and it's such a high skill ceiling that it just feels like, maybe if this was released in the 90s, sure, this would get a lot of traction. But it's 2017, y'all. It ain't the 90s no more, Cliffy B.
Early to mid 90s, it's got that toot. It's just way too dumb and stupid and just does not know the audience.
Yeah, even
it's
the
like,
soundtrack.
oh, this is what kids like. Like, hey, like I just see Cliffy B, right? Like with a fidget spinner going, hey, fellow teens. Like, no, Cliffy B, put the fidget spinner down.
What is
back
up,
away.
my fellow kids?
Oh man.
Yeah, and this game had like so much marketing put into it for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Like every time I'd see a commercial, it's like, wow, this game is so good. Like you have to be good to play this game. High skill ceiling, motherfucker. How many controllers can you fit in your hands?
And I remember as well when the game launched, they had an absolutely butt description in Steam. Like the description was butt. It was so like, you need to come lead with this game. You gotta be so good. Like this ain't your mama's shooter. And it's just so dumb and like 90s. I just could tell like the Kool-Aid man was gonna bust through the wall and just be like, hey,
oh yeah,
like, oh yeah.
It sounded like Dead Space's 2 Your Mom Will Hate This Game campaign.
Yeah, that's Cliffy B too, right? At least people were reining him in. Now that Boss Key, he's the boss, he's calling all the shots, and clearly he's going wrong. So I am deciding to troll this game even more while we're kicking dirt on it. And do you guys care to wager? I went on Steam charts. How many people are in game right now?
7.
Damn.
6.
You got
well,
$1.
Tell
Bob.
us it. Yeah, give us the price.
No,
Bob.
it's 21 people are in it right now.
Ah.
And that's probably in the dev studio. And the 30-day average is 24.4 people. And in the last 30 days, they lost half of their audience. So it means their audience 30 days ago is 36 people.
That is so sad to see.
It is really like tragic. Like this was a big deal? Question mark. Was it a big deal? I guess it was Boss Key's first game, right?
I mean, I think, yeah, it was its first game. I think what's just so sad is they were trying to be that next Overwatch killer, like, fuck Blizzard, we've got this cool game that all the real gamers want to play. And it's not working out.
Yeah. It's almost like too many ideas in one game. Like there wasn't like a clear focus, I feel like.
Yeah.
For what they wanted to do. They're just trying to do too much. And it didn't have a great onboarding experience. There wasn't a great tutorial, in my opinion. It just felt all wrong. And it's obviously, going to struggle to ever win its money back. I don't even know what kind of boost it would get if it went free to play at this point. Who knows?
Yeah.
With it just, in the gallows now.
It's a shame because once you get that game, it's actually not that bad to play, but it's just so obtuse and it's like doesn't want you to know how to play it because you're supposed to already be super good at it.
I disagree. I think it is kind of bad to play. I think it never felt good. Like I never felt good. I always felt stressed. Like I always felt like the worst player in the room, and I probably was. But it was just a really bad experience. Like during the beta, to go in, I was like, oh, this is clearly a game I'm never going to play, and that was kind of like the experience that I think some of your friends had. You said as well.
Mm-hmm. I think I was the only one who like stuck with it long enough to be like, oh, I get it now. But
too little, too late, man.
Fuck you, Lawbreakers. You suck.
Whoa. Wow.
Sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Hey.
Whoa.
Hey, sorry.
Next on our list, Call of Duty World War II.
So, how many times in video games have we approximately stormed the beaches at Normandy, on D-Day at Normandy?
6.5.
Omaha Beach? Is it really? Is it really 6?
I don't know.
No, it's more than 3. It's got to be more than 3 at this point.
It's too many, dude.
Too many. Anyway, so Call of Duty World War II, everyone was getting hyped across the year because, Call of Duty's going back to boots on the ground, boots on the ground, boots on the ground, boots on the ground, boots on the ground. Hey, boots on the ground. Hey, you guys like boots on the ground? Yeah. And so everyone was super excited, like, hey, we're going to actually see a World War II setting. We haven't seen that since World at War back in the 360 and PS3 era. And Call of Duty, has our live stream showing the game off, showing the campaign, showing the zombies, showing the multiplayer. And the game comes out and everyone's like, wow, this is pretty fucking mediocre. In fact, it's not very good. The multiplayer maps are pretty meh. I mean, it's like you guys said in the episode where we talked about it, it's just the game plays a little too much like regular Call of Duty. It's nostalgic, but in a bad way, right?
I hear it's very by the numbers. I guess the Nazi zombies mode is what's sort of saving this game, or at least making it worthwhile.
It has been. It always has been.
Right. And
But what I hear is the single player in this is particularly mediocre. That's
exactly
vanilla.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It relies on cutscene-y, big explosive cutscenes and set pieces to make you entertained. And I actually watched a video, and I'm sorry, the name of the channel escapes me at the moment, but I watched a video saying basically how the storming in Omaha Beach and how it was, even though the new Call of Duty has the more fancy graphics, it's more cinematic, has better acting, how it's actually worse than the original storming of Omaha Beach, which was in Medal of Honor, subtitle that escapes me. Jack, you know it?
Frontline. Isn't that?
Yeah, Frontline mission, Frontline, something like that. Anyway, they were arguing that this new Call of Duty is actually worse than that game. And the big reason why is because they just take control away from the player. Because there's no moment in that event of storming Omaha Beach that you feel vulnerable, because there's several moments when you're not even controlling the damn character. You're just watching a movie happen. You're just watching a movie. And that's the thing. If I wanted to watch a movie, I'd go watch fucking Saving Private Ryan.
You're coming off of... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I would just like to say, like, if, to really get that feeling, like, okay, conveying for the most part, like, what happened events-wise and things like that, but, like, putting you in that situation, letting you take control is a whole fucking point of a video game. I want to feel what it was like to storm Omaha Beach and, be scared as shit because I'm going to get mauled out by a bunch of machine gun turrets. Like, you know what I mean? It just doesn't convey the feeling right. And that's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of the theme of this game, right? It's just kind of mediocrity and too much showmanship, and it kind of exemplifies what's wrong with more AAA gaming. But
you're coming off of a year where Battlefield 1, I don't know why those occupy the same file in my brain, but where Battlefield 1 comes out, right? And it's pretty awesome.
That was last year?
That's what I'm saying. You're coming off of that year.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That came out, and Battlefield 1 had a great campaign. I thought.
It did, even though you could argue that it did have some of the same issues about the whole too many cinematics and set pieces thing. But it was, like, a story-wise, in terms of contrast and gameplay and things like that, it was a better campaign.
Yeah.
And then you also are talking about a year where Wolfenstein is a thing. and is a much better experience all around single player wise than you just as I understand, people that are just playing Call of Duty are like, man, this should be like Wolfenstein. I could be having so much more fun in Wolfenstein. So that doesn't help it at all. And I was kind of excited to buy this game and play it just because all the modes and everything and just seeing what it had to offer. But then after playing Wolfenstein, I couldn't help it. I played that one. I was like, oh, well, if the single player isn't really worth its like 33% of the game, then that's enough for me to not want to buy the game, at least nowhere near for $60. And then I'm just seeing all the mediocre reviews coming out. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of more like an also ran. This isn't really a great standout World War II game. You know, like if you want to play World War II, just play Call of Duty 2. You know, and I'm like, oh, well, if that's the case, then I can afford to just totally miss this game this year. That's fine with me. And so I was a little bit surprised by that. And that's why it's nominated in this category, because it sucks.
It's okay. You can catch next year's Call of Duty because it's still annual for whatever reason.
I wonder what they're going to do.
Next
Black
nominee,
Ops 19.
Black Ops set in 1995, the Gulf War. Next nominee, Xbox One X.
The Xbox One X, guys. Everyone's got one. It's the hottest new toy in the market. You know,
It's my favorite microwave.
I was just at Best Buy, and there was a huge pile of these sitting there. They are not flying off shelves. They're actually, by the way, also, you know what else is at Best Buy? Hard copies, like physical copies of an unfinished PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It's for sale now. It even says on the front of the box, like unfinished, a work in progress. Like, how can you sell this for $30? And they're also incentivizing people like, oh, if you buy an Xbox One X, you get PUBG for free. Thanks. Is this what the vapor chamber is for? So I can play this at 20 frames a second? In 4K, like, thanks a lot.
Yeah, that's what we're getting at, though, right? Like, Xbox One X needed something, fucking something, man. And I think that's why they went so hard on trying to push out this unfinished version of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds onto this Xbox, because they needed something. They needed something to play in this console because they don't have anything.
Guys, like, remember, Crackdown 3 totally came out on launch day and it wasn't delayed.
In your universe, no, it never happened. I will say, though, that if you have a 4K TV, the killer app actually for Xbox One X is Planet Earth 2 in 4K. That's the killer app there. That's why you would buy this. That's why I would buy it. I would spend that money to watch, 4K Blu-rays, things like that, if that continues to be a thing. But
you could get the S, which is less than half the price.
Yeah, but if you're going to spend 4K. If you're going to spend that, it plays 4K Blu-rays, just not 4K games native. But that's cheaper than the PlayStation Pro, or not cheaper, but I'm saying it's more expensive than the PlayStation Pro. But the PlayStation Pro does not play 4K Blu-rays. That's so dumb.
It is dumb.
True, but it's just it. I guess the main problem with the Xbox One X is the same problem we've been saying for like months before it even came out. Where's the software? That's what I need. Like, you can't sell a console without games on it. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and they're already like struggling on the first party releases. They already canceled that Dragons and Headphones game. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, fuck. I forgot. I know what you're talking about.
Scalebound.
Shit. You had to think about it for a second.
Yeah, for sure. Well, they already canceled that. I was looking forward to that. And Phantom Dust was no longer a thing. I was looking forward to that, too. So it's like, there's no reason to buy it, right? Unless... I can't even recommend, especially for $500. Yeah. And it looks like the market is echoing my sentiment as well, where there's just piles upon piles upon piles of these things in stores. You'll never have a problem finding one these days. It came in way too high priced. It's just another miscalculation by Microsoft, and it's a shame because Phil Spencer there is a cool dude. I like that guy. I like a lot of his ideas. He's always done right by gamers, but for some reason or another, there's just some politics going on behind the scenes, I think, that is making the Xbox kind of irrelevant.
It's unfortunate. But let's talk about our final nominee on this list. Star Wars Battlefront 2.
All right. So everyone knew this was going to be nominated. This, to me, is the greatest shame of the year as far as just what I was hoping for and what ended up happening. And we have already well documented the loot box fiasco here, but just the implications that this has on the industry, on the laws on regulations potentially. I mean, you have a representative out of Hawaii that is talking about a Star Wars themed casino for kids, trying to outlaw loot boxes.
And he's actually like outlining the next steps.
He's trying. Yeah, no, he's full on about this. And I thought it was funny though, because he was like, it's a trap. And I'm like, bro, you know what you're doing. Shut up.
Yeah. And he tried to keep like a straight face. It's like, come on, just laugh. Be human.
Waiting for him to pull out his Reese cup mug, but
he ain't Ajit Pai.
No, but who could be that monster? But anyways, it just was a damn shame what happened in this game, because I was full on going to buy it like day one, and just the 3 hours to go until launch, they completely take out their progression system. They completely gut it. They completely change it. But not before they tried to justify it, right? And not before they responded with the most disliked and downvoted comment in internet and Reddit history. Like, I'm sure that's not what they were hoping to achieve with this game. I think that they were pretty sure this was going to be a huge success, but just everything that has happened, the way it's been handled by the communication department, is just a mire on this series. It reached Disney executives to the point where like, hey, what the fuck are you doing with Star Wars? We have a movie coming out, a little movie called The Last Jedi. We don't need you sinking the stock before this happens. So, EA is still making money, and they're going to continue to. Like, this isn't going to sink them at all, but I think this will make it very, very interesting if they're still going to have the rights to Battlefront 3 whenever that comes out, inevitably.
And if it does,
what will happen?
Whether it has loot boxes. I think it'll be interesting to see like whether they come out with a sequel that does have loot boxes. You know what I mean?
I don't understand why people are so afraid to just... I mean, does Blizzard have like a copyright on how they do their progression? Because to me, it's pretty much the de facto way to do it. The way Overwatch does their progression and their loot boxes. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, it's not like Blizzard's hurting for fucking money, that's for sure.
I always say this, okay? Make the game so good that people want to pay for and want to spend money in it. That's what Blizzard does. They make the game so good, and they put so much effort and resources into their art for their skins that people are like, oh shit, I want that Cthulhu Zenyatta, or I want that 80s style Zarya, right? And it's like, oh, that's what they do. Not like make the progression so shitty and terrible that you have to spend money to unlock fucking Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker in a Star Wars game where the characters were available for the first game right off the bat, where I just get heated like thinking about it. Like, it's just such a terrible thing they did with Battlefront 2, and that's why it's on this list. And we can start to begin and pick a winner/loser in this most dishonorable category.
We have 5 nominees here, but gentlemen, there's only one that's the shittiest.
Who shits above all else?
So I'm gonna keep with my trend of cutting the bullshit here, like we have in the past few episodes. I'm gonna say Battlefront 2, because not only is it probably the biggest controversy I've ever seen in gaming, probably in my lifetime. Like, it's up there. It's up there. I don't know if it's the biggest, but it's up there. Like, I feel like everything, all the practices, all the events that have been happening in the past 2 console generations have come to a head, and this is the product. You know what I mean? So everything, all the shit, all EA was doing, all Capcom was doing, it's gotten to a point where EA finally stepped over the line. They finally got to the point where they were flying close to the sun, and they got way too close. That's what happened.
And their wings melted.
Yep, just like the old adage.
As did their stocks, kind of, not really ish.
Well, yeah, I mean, this game is very much underperforming. It's well under their projections. It's gotten, I think, it's at under 50% of the sales of the first game right now, as far as I know.
Shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like, people have certainly made themselves heard to EA. Like, they've spoken with their wallets, man.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say it's a huge win for gamers, and it's crazy that we're in a gaming industry now that somebody like EA is like, well, if people don't want microtransactions, then how do we make a game? Like,
how do we make a game without microtransactions? What is that?
Will the next one have a subscription model, or will the next one have season passes? what are they gonna? How are they gonna adjust? How are they gonna pivot if they're even allowed to make a sequel? And what I was gonna say is, I'm sure when they had that video for the beta, and John Boyega himself, Mr. John Star Wars, got up and showed those spreadsheets and those charts and those graphs on how much cooler Battlefront 2 is. Do you remember that, Robert? Than Battlefront
I love that
1. Yeah, it's like, we have all these more, better, right? I'm sure the only chart that EA cares about is that this game sold 50% less than the first game. So wow. So I hear you, Colin. I want to though I don't want to brush over the other ones real quick. I just want to quickly revisit them real quick. I think that Lawbreakers is an absolute huge disappointment, among the biggest disappointments of the year. However, it doesn't really have any implications beyond boss key and what that means for them. It's just like, okay, you guys really missed the ball here on every level. You're going to have to try again. This is a toxic brand. You cannot save this brand. You can go free to play and hope for the best there, and that's the best you have with that game.
Does
they
anyone
can't
wanna...
They can't go free to play until after Christmas, though.
Yeah, anyone want to place bets on when they're going to go free to play?
I know they will.
When?
I mean, they don't. I mean, they don't have anything else better to do at this point. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's the only way that they're going to be able to get more people on board, if at all. And I think that, if anything, I hope this is a learning experience for Cliff and his team. And I think that Cliff, he definitely, we owe him his due. I mean, he is a great visionary. He knows what he's doing for the most part when it comes to games. It's just that he made a bad call this time. I feel like I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess is what I'm saying. And I feel like if he tries again and he makes another game, I feel like it's going to be a much better result.
No, I think he messes up way more. I think that the best results of Cliffy B is when he has a strong team around him to rein him in and tell him when he's wrong and where he has to listen. But I think when you just give him carte blanche, I think he's kind of like the shitty version of Kojima, where he just makes all the wrong. He's all the wrong decisions, and he just has all the power. I think this is the end result of what happens when he has all the power.
Maybe, man. Maybe you're right.
I mean, we might be saying the same thing about Death Stranding when it comes out in 2020.
That would be a shame.
Yeah, because that's going to be the first game where Kojima is truly at the top. No one can say no to him.
Yeah, we'll find out when we all graduate grad school, because that's when that game's coming out.
Yep.
So Call of Duty 2. It's a shitty Call of Duty. Yeah, World War II. I'm used to Call of Duty being bad.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge disappointment.
I think this one is probably the biggest whimper. I don't know, out of all of these, it's you kind of expect it, but the thing is, Call of Duty World War II doesn't change the fact that it's making good sales numbers.
If you like Nazi zombies, there's plenty of Nazis, there's plenty of zombies.
Yeah, I will say, I enjoyed the Nazi zombies.
I haven't heard a bad thing about that mode.
Yeah.
So I don't think
aside from the loot boxes.
Yeah. So I think that we can eliminate those two. I think that leaves us with Battlefront 2, Xbox One X, and Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, Robert, do you have any comments on Xbox One X or Mass Effect Andromeda?
For me, it's down to X and Battlefront 2. Andromeda has no question.
What?
It has nothing to do. Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? Okay. I can't believe you guys are just gonna brush aside Mass Effect Andromeda. So Battlefront 2.
I wouldn't just brush it aside. I just I think that Xbox One X and Battlefront 2 are on a bigger scale.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing with Mass Effect Andromeda. I sunk 30 hours into that game, so I am swimming in this juicy disappointment soup that Andromeda is. I've sat through so many cutscenes, have tried to like so many of the characters, and some of them are actually all right, but it just keeps making me, every second I'm playing it, I'm just thinking, man, why isn't this Mass Effect 3 though? Or why isn't this Mass Effect 2 even? The only thing Andromeda has going for it is its combat. The combat's phenomenal. It's better than Mass Effect could ever been.
What I'm saying is that Mass Effect Andromeda, I just think the hopes were so high. I think they were aiming for a trilogy here. And it sunk multiple studios. They had to come out and publicly apologize. They will forever be tainted with this terrible, terrible shit of a game. And Mass Effect was so beloved. One of the most beloved franchises in the last 10 years is Mass Effect. The fanboys are strong and loud with that series, and to come out with such a terrible game that closed studios, and they said, what was it, 2 months afterwards, they're we're not patching this game anymore. Who the fuck would have expected that?
A little more than 2 months.
Still, it was a matter of months. It was 4 months. You would expect. There's no way they planned that. That was like a last minute pull the plug on this. We're cutting life support. This game
we're
is
done.
DOA.
We're done throwing more money at this game.
You know they were in the works of developing more shit. They were probably thinking this game would have a long, like year-long tail probably, and then release the Game of the Year version next year. And no.
It just sounds like nothing but a really terrible, development cycle. I know there was a lot of turmoil there, right? Leading up to, while this game was being developed, but it's one of those things where like you have a Cadillac of a franchise, right? Because Mass Effect is probably one of the biggest video game franchises of modern gaming. At least it was during the PS3 and 360 era. It was one of the biggest franchises out there. Like the fan base is fucking rabid for this series, dude. And and they drove it into the ground, man, and it's kind of disappointing. Like even with the whole animation thing, like me and Robert are huge DBZ fans, and it kind of sucks that they take the biggest franchise in anime history and put crappy animators on it, or do the not crappy animators, but crappy animation on it. You know what I mean?
For a game that's known for its great animation.
Right.
Like when it first came out, I don't know if you guys can remember when the first Mass Effect came out, it was shown behind closed doors at E3. People were like talking like, dude, did you see Mass Effect? There were like leaked footage, right? Like cell phone footage of it online, and it went like viral because no one could believe how lifelike like the eyes were, and just talking to people, it felt like you were talking to an actual real person, at least back then, right? In the mid 2000s. And just people like, wow, this game is doing it just is groundbreaking in that respect. And to go from that to being the shittiest like laughing stock of animation this year.
I will say, like, it kind of paints BioWare itself in a bad picture, right? Like, not that BioWare's been releasing stellar games recently, right? Like, they've kind of had rough patches, but this is a real shit pile patch. And like, as cool as Anthem looked at E3, Andromeda didn't do it any favors.
I think we honestly, if anything, we should be scared for Anthem.
Yeah. But here's the thing though. Does it really weigh out Xbox One X and Battlefront 2? We can't just keep talking about Andromeda.
Well, here's where it left me. This is my last thought on Mass Effect Andromeda. We can talk about the other ones, okay? You're talking to a guy who, my girlfriend at the time, she's my wife now, but we sat there and weeped like crazy awesome tears at the end of Mass Effect 3. We played all three of those. She watched me play all three of those games, and we were like freaking out at the end. When they finally patched it, it made a good ending, by the way, I should say. Good, quote unquote, right? So that's how huge I love this franchise. So you're going from that to putting a game out where I literally can play the game for free because I'm subscribed to EA's Origin Access. I can play the game for 10 hours for free. And the game is so bad that I didn't even bother to click to download and install it. That's how bad this game is. And I might argue I'm probably the biggest Mass Effect fan, on the show.
I don't know. I mean, I love the trilogy.
That's fine. So I'm among the fans on the show, but I didn't even boot up the game even for free. That's how bad Mass Effect Andromeda was. I think I'm coming at it from like a disappointment level, right? Like my hopes versus what I got are very large with Mass Effect Andromeda.
The way I'm looking at it is every Star Wars has its prequels, right? That maybe that's what Andromeda is in terms of quality. But when I look at the Xbox One X and the Battlefront 2, they have way bigger implications on the gaming industry as a whole. That like the fact that they're disappointing is gonna like mean something greatly for the whole industry in the next few years.
Do you really think? I don't think that the Xbox One X quote unquote failure, for one, they're going to boast about whatever they did this holiday, no matter how shitty it is. But I don't think it means like, oh, this is their last console, or Microsoft is a failure. I think it's far from that.
Well, okay, but here's the thing though, right? Is like we're talking console wars here. Whenever PS4 Pro 2K, 4K, whatever, the new PS4 Pro comes out, Xbox is going to have to respond in kind, and they're climbing an even bigger uphill battle because they were climbing a pretty small hill battle, right? Like with the X, because they were kind of like already like not as many people own Xboxes. Now they're real deep in this hole. When they come out with the Xbox X2, like it's not gonna be like everyone's like, oh yeah, I can't wait, 16 teraflops, fuck yeah, like no one's gonna give a shit, right? They're gonna have to sell something really big, whereas like PlayStation's going to probably continue to dominate the market. If we're going to continue with this trend of like, there's never going to be a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox One, 2 or some shit.
The story this holiday season is that of the Switch. and the PlayStation. You know, the Xbox, I don't think ever thought it would compete with the Switch, but guess what? It is. And guess what else? It's losing. And it's only going to get worse. Like, Nintendo's coming up, and if people are spending money, if families are spending money on video games, it's on Sony and on Nintendo, not on Microsoft.
Yeah, I don't.
Switches are still hard to find. Switches are still hard to find in store.
I really don't understand what the Xbox camp has been doing throughout this whole console generation, guys. I really don't. I just don't understand a lot of the decisions that they made. I mean, they just released Xbox One X, but fucking PlayStation PS4 just had the biggest selling month last month of the entire lifespan of the console.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Xbox One as a property has started out with, I mean, they had an absolute shit announcement with all the DRM bullshit, all the always connected to internet, all, you know, the whole fight between PS4 and Xbox One at E3, onto making an Xbox One S, and then soon after that announcing that we're going to come out with an ultra powerful console, the most powerful console ever, in the Xbox One X, which is great. But why do that when you don't even have any sort of fucking games? You don't have any sort of software coming out for this thing. So why does it even matter? And on top of that, I mean, I think the biggest way that they shot themselves in the foot is they made Xbox Play Anywhere, which is great because it's still putting money in Microsoft's pocket since they still own Windows 10. But like, in terms of getting their consoles off shelves,
right?
They're just not doing anything to do that, man. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't know what their aim is.
I mean this with all seriousness. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next decade people would be wondering, wait, Microsoft used to sell consoles? I'm
don't know.
Deadly serious.
I mean, 10 years is a long time. Who knows what could happen?
I'm just saying, like, some people don't even remember that Sega used to make consoles.
Samsung and LG might have consoles in 10 years. You don't know, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean,
Disney,
I don't know.
At this point, Disney might have a box.
I mean, PS4 had its biggest selling month last month. I mean, nowhere can keep fucking Switches on the shelves. You know what I mean? And Xbox One is over here like, hey guys, we got most powerful console.
Vapor chambers.
You can play PUBG at 20 FPS. Isn't that fun, guys? Come on,
guys.
Join
play a
us.
shitty version of PUBG. It wasn't even a finished game to begin with.
Okay, and we don't really need to talk about Battlefront 2 anymore, but we do have to find a winner. So here is another thought I had. Okay. My argument is that Battlefront 2 is a playable game, a very competent, action-packed multiplayer game with a somewhat meh, shoulder-shruggery style single player. Okay, but and a terrible progression system, probably the worst conceived ever. Also the worst received, I should say. However, Mass Effect Andromeda is, you could argue, like, so broken and terrible upon launch that it might be like basically unplayable. Because
I have 30 hours of life that disagree.
But you didn't beat it because it sucks. Or did you beat it?
No, I didn't beat it.
It sucked. It couldn't hold. When I say unplayable, I mean the game is basically talking to people. Like more than half of the game is you talking to people, looking at their facial animations. So when that part's broken, it's like you don't really have much of a game, and you're having a terrible experience. So I'm just saying that Battlefront 2 is a decent game with bad progression and loot boxes and predatory game design, whereas Mass Effect Andromeda is a horrible game coming from one of the most anticipated franchises in gaming for over the last 10 years. So that's kind of my argument, I guess. What do you guys think?
My argument is Xbox One X, it's not really a surprise that, I mean, just Microsoft has just had a history so far of having made odd decisions throughout this console generation. But whereas Battlefront 2, there's going to be just massive implications for this, and there already have been. And I've never seen a game like have such an effect in a negative way on the industry.
I've never seen a reaction like this. The industry hasn't.
I think the reason why Battlefront 2 sits above Andromeda for me for shittiest is Andromeda, sure, you can look at it and be like, wow, that's like really bad. It kind of killed a franchise. But you can ignore it. You know, I mean, Jack, you've ignored it for the past like 9 months until we brought it up again. It was like, hey, this is probably a nominee.
Yeah, but it's hurt. It's hurt the whole time though for me because I want a great Mass Effect.
But with Battlefront 2, sure, you can ignore it, but you can't ignore regulations on loot boxes in the next year or so if that actually passes through. It's going to loop back around is what you're saying. You can't ignore other games because you're probably going to play a game that has loot boxes in it, and it's going to somehow probably be affected by whatever comes out of what Battlefront 2 has done.
Right. Anyone that doesn't take a lesson from what happened from EA is fucking lost, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and the fact of the matter is, like, plain and simple, you can't ignore Star Wars. We're going to be getting more Star Wars games. You know what I mean? What they do with them, we have no clue. But we're going to, like, it's just the climate that we're living in right now. There's going to be way more Star Wars movies, way more Star Wars video games on top of that.
Thanks, Disney.
And yeah, and so I don't know if this means that Disney's going to tighten their grip on EA. Or I don't know, man. But whatever happens, it's crazy.
If they're gonna force choke him into saying no more loot boxes,
yeah, it's gonna be Mickey Mouse dressed in Darth Vader armor. They're gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
It seems like I'm not winning over any of you guys with Mass Effect and drama. So
I'm sorry, man. But Battlefront 2 is just too crazy for me.
Can I just say, Mickey Mouse Darth Vader sounds like the greatest thing on the planet.
I'm sure that's a thing.
I am your father. Haha.
I mean, Robert, I feel like I was the only person on here that was like looking forward to Battlefront 2.
Yes.
Like, you guys weren't planning on buying it or playing it, right?
No, I wasn't.
Like, I was planning on buying Mass Effect. And I went from anticipating it. I know, but I went from anticipating it to not even playing it for free. You know? I don't know. So,
no, I see where you're coming from.
I mean, to me, that's how else can you spell, like, the biggest disappointment ever? So that's my final argument with Mass Effect. It doesn't seem like I'm winning. So the question is Xbox One X or Battlefront 2? Because I think Microsoft really thought they were high-fiving themselves like, guys, this is it. We're going to win gamers over the way Sony did in 2013's E3. You know, when they ate our lunch. Now we're going to get back at them and we're going to beat them on power. And this is going to bring us back on top. And it's not happening.
We've built the ultimate water cooler, guys.
We kind of saw this happening.
The ultimate water cooler.
We saw this, like, this is the world's slowest car crash.
Yeah.
Right? Like, happening
in slow motion. It kind of has been for the Xbox One generation, man. It really has.
So is it really, if we kind of saw the writing on the wall, can it really qualify as the biggest disappointment? The why can't you be good award from Tiny Disc?
I agree. That's why my vote's going to Battlefront, because before, like a month before it came out, no one really knew about the loot boxes. And then they did that open beta, and everyone was like, what the fuck? What is this? What is this shit? This is so bad.
So,
you know,
my argument though, okay, again, is like kind of in the spirit of this award. Like, if the loot progression was perfect and no one said anything, you guys wouldn't even be playing it. I'd be playing the game and I'd be loving the shit out of it. You guys wouldn't be playing it. But if Mass Effect, if none of those problems were there, and it was a great game, a great addition, all three of us would have been playing it, probably beat it, and we might be talking about it for Game of the Year.
But what's disappointing me is that down the line, a couple years from now, we could have video games be regulated by the government for a stupid fucking reason like loot boxes. That's a major disappointment to me.
I don't think that will happen. Hopefully, and fingers crossed. I don't think it'll get that far. We don't know, but I don't think it'll get that far.
It should have never gotten far enough to where like a bill is being drafted.
Right. I mean, we haven't seen shit like this ever since Mortal Kombat and the ESRB controversy happened.
Okay, so for me, the biggest disappointment in 2017 is Mass Effect, but I guess for the podcast, the biggest disappointment of the year is Battlefront 2. So I'm okay with that, I think.
So the tiny for the why can't you just be good goes to Star Wars Battlefront 2 and its wonderful loot boxes.
So bad. I hate you. I want to love you. Why can't I just love you? Because you're terrible.
Why can't I just love you?
I want to buy you and own you and play you. Sorry, I'll quit talking to inanimate objects.
Gross. But that does it for us for this episode of the 10 Days of Tiny Disc. Tune in tomorrow when we award a game the Glassy-Eyed Unblinking Nod Award. You want to find out what that means? Listen to tomorrow's episode. And until then, we'll see ya.